Disclaimer. The takes on this podcast may not be backed by facts or statistics. In fact, most of the takes on this podcast are backed by feelings, not facts. Unfortunately, podcast equipment is free to purchase by the public. Please enjoy this podcast at your own discretion. In today's episode, Zane and Devin talk about the Patriots taking Joe Milton in the 7th round, and then rehash the Atlanta Falcons pick at number 8, who is Michael Penix Jr. Let's jump in.
Okay, good morning, afternoon, and evening. It's the guy you should believe in. Dropping heat like every season. Underdog like Willie Beeman. Classic like Dom singing. Blasting like bombs ringing.
Welcome back. I'm Devin, that's Zane, and this is Buffet Sports. This next segment, or next part we're going to hash out, is a tweet from Adam Schefter. Quote, Patriots de facto GM Elliott Wolf said New England drafted former Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton because he was too talented to pass up on. What the hell, New England? The comparison I need to draw here is to the Falcons.
Oh, you son of a... That's what I was going to do. I was going to draw it to the Falcons, too.
Because I heard a good point today about the Falcons. I was watching some I don't remember who it was.
I'm sure you heard a great point.
What?
Sorry. All I'm saying is that this is what happens all the time is everybody has the same point, right? Everybody's like, okay, this was bad. This was terrible. And then there's always one guy who, like, a month later or a couple weeks later, once it all dies down, he comes in and he spins it another way and he gets a lot of clicks, gets a lot of likes. It always happens. But I feel like the first initial thought is the correct one. You know, did your elementary school teacher ever tell you this? When you're taking a test, you don't know what the answer is. You always choose with the first answer that you thought it was.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is what this is with the Falcons. But go ahead, say the point. I'm sorry for...
No, this is... What the point is that the Falcons had arguably the worst quarterback in that division for the longest time. And then they got Kirk Cousins. And then they drafted Michael Penix. So they had a good quarterback. So they had the worst quarterback in the division for forever. They now have the best quarterback in the division. So why the hell would they take another one? Well, quarterback security, right? And again, was it the right move? Probably not. But are they secure for at least the next probably 8 years, if not longer?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
On the other side of the coin, you have the Patriots. Now, the argument with the Falcons is you shouldn't actually feel bad for Kirk. You should feel bad for Michael Penix because he is, he was the guy, like, he could have been a starter anywhere else. And the difference between 8 and 13, where he could have gone to the Raiders, where I had him projected, and you agreed with me. He could have been a starter there, and the money's not that different.
And the team's great. The team's great. Could have done some actual meaningful. He could have played meaningful football there.
So the point is with this is the other side of the coin where you're taking 2 quarterbacks, but it doesn't, in this case, there's not even a shred of it making sense. You've got Jacoby Brissett. You drafted a quarterback at 3. We're not talking about 8 and you have a Kirk Cousins. We're talking about Jacoby Brissett and you're taking a quarterback at 3 in Drake May, who could end up being a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the league, right? So why are you taking a guy in the 7th round if he's just too talented?
Because it's the 7th round.
This is the other. But doesn't that put a little bit of a damper on the confidence of Drake May?
100%, yes. But
this is the other side of the coin to me, where the Falcons, it has a little bit of, like, it makes a little bit of sense. In this case, it makes no sense.
I'm the opposite of the spectrum from you. I think it makes more sense for what the Patriots are doing because they took him in the 7th round compared to paying a guy who arguably was going to play his best season of football last year and then got hurt and he's coming off of injury. And then in the 1st round with the 8th pick overall, you take a QB who is a ready-made starter and you're going to have him sit for 2 to 4 years is what everybody's saying. I think that makes less sense than having your starting QB who you say or we think is going to be there for the next 10 years. And then in the 7th round, which is garbage pick time, you take a guy like Joe Milton because he is too good to pass up. And I think what they're saying is he's too good to pass up in the 7th round. I think if it was a 4th, maybe a 5th, 3 to 5.
But
maybe
why?
he's
But
not
what's
too
the
good.
point?
Just in case. You know, it's the same thing as the Falcons, right? The Falcons did
But is
it
Drake May even
worse.
going to play this year?
It
What's the just in
depends.
case? What's the just in case if he doesn't pan out or if he gets hurt? Because I don't even think he play. I genuinely think the Patriots are smart enough to not play Drake May this year.
I think he'll get snaps for sure. I think
Maybe at the end
Jacoby
of the
has a bad
year.
game. Jacoby has a bad game. Drake comes in.
I don't think
That's what
so.
I'm saying. I mean, it makes sense. He has a bad game. They throw the new guy in, see how he does, see if he has a little bit of spark like Tom Brady. I mean, it kind of makes sense.
But he's
That's
the
the
but
culture around there.
no, but I think it's I think that they're smart enough to look at Drake May and say there's too much that needs to be fixed this year for him
I
to get.
agree taking Joe Milton, who I said I thought if he was going to get taken by anybody, it was going to be a team to where he was going to start, maybe not play the best type of ball that an NFL team desired
Oh,
out of
we're
the
talking.
quarterback.
I'm talking about Drake May. I don't think Joe Milton's going to get any snaps
No,
this
I
year.
know. Yeah, I know. I agree with you with that. But what I was saying is that the original thought process that I had with Joe Milton is that he was going to be taken by a team who was quarterback needy and he was going to start this year. Even though he probably wouldn't play that well, he was going to be on a team that needed somebody. And they just needed somebody else who had more promise than what they currently have, and he was going to start. So I agree with you that I don't understand the thought process, but we also look at the Falcons, and this seems to be where all of these teams with new head coaches and new GMs are going, is to where with they love QB so much that they don't want to have a bad one, so they're going to take up all of the stock and they're going to take up as much as possible to make sure that if this guy doesn't work out, we have another guy that we think could work out.
Yeah, I don't know. This one to me just is like, what's the point? 7th round? Like,
I think, like I said before, it's when baseball went all stats. There's no more. This guy's got grit. This guy just has a feel for when that fastball is coming and he can rip it. That's not what people are looking for in baseball anymore. Now it's just like how many times per swing does he get on base? And I feel like we're seeing that with these new guys coming in. They are now going based off of just best overall. Okay, Joe Milton in the 7th round. Oh my God, this guy's so great. Doesn't matter that we just drafted Drake May. This guy has so much skill. It would be a steal if we took him in the 7th round. I can't believe he fell to the 7th round. Let's take him. And then they're not thinking about total team composition as much as they're thinking about value of the pick. That's personally
that
what
was
I
the
think.
smartest shit you done ever said, bro. Total team composition. Who the fuck are you?
What did I say on the Madden video? What did I subsequently? Subsequently.
Yeah, bro. I don't.
I've never said that word in my life. I swear to God, I was just talking on the mic and I ripped out subsequently. Had no idea what it meant. I literally, while I was editing the video, I looked up what subsequently meant, and it worked. Is anybody else like that? Where they will say words like in the right context constantly, and they have no idea what they mean? Because I've never
Well,
heard
that's
the
just
word.
context clues.
I've never heard the word subsequently in my life, but I guess I know because like in my brain, when I hear the word subsequently, sub is below or after. So, and sequentially is order. So putting those together, I feel like that's how my brain like figured out that subsequently meant that after we look at CJ Stroud, we're going to look at Bryce Young. Smart
Look at
guy.
this
Hey,
guy, Webster
functionally smart.
scholar.
Functionally smart, baby. I could be in Harvard right now if I wasn't addicted to beer.
Okay.
What were we talking
So,
about?
so at the end all be all, I'm on the side that the Falcons, there was a shred of it making sense, and this one it just makes zero sense. You're on the side that it's the opposite, that the
Well,
Falcons pick makes no sense, and
look
this
at the
one
gamble.
makes some sense.
Look at the gamble. You have a guy who has proven in the NFL that he can play ball. But on New England side, you have a guy who hasn't proven at all that he can play ball in the NFL. So it would make more sense to get somebody who you think could also play ball in the NFL, just in case this guy doesn't work out. I think the Falcons, it doesn't work out. And I feel like the Falcons doesn't make as much sense because you have a guy who's proven to play meaningful football in the NFL. And then you draft a prospect who is supposed to be like a day one starter in the NFL, and you're going to have him sit there. I feel like you're just like, I feel like you're
Just
just
go with me on this. You don't have to
all right.
respond to it. I'm not asking you to respond to it. But let's take a look at last year. Like from the Vikings perspective. Not to say that Josh Dobbs was terrible, he was electric, but that's my point. You need a you need a quarterback that's at least a B in the NFL if you want to continue to compete. The Falcons have that. Because and I know you're tired, you're sick and tired of me saying it, but Kirk Cousins could come back and he could play, he could be fine. But there's no guarantee that he won't stay healthy now, right? Like that was an Achilles injury. That's a non-contact injury. That's different from an ACL. An ACL is like, okay, it's arguably worse, but still
Yeah,
that's a
I would
contact
say.
injury. That's a contact injury. You don't have control of it. This is a non-contact injury now, and the risk of re-injuring is higher now. So you need a B quarterback to be able to stay relevant. And if they are in win now, that kind of makes sense.
But I feel like if you're looking at it like percentage wise of what would get you to the Super Bowl, right? Because that's what win now is. Win now isn't just to have a winning season. Win now is to get to a Super Bowl. And I feel like with the first pick overall, it should have been somebody who can instantly impact your team.
You mean eighth?
Well, yeah, eighth pick overall. I feel like it should be somebody that can instantly impact your team. And I feel like if you're going in that win now mode, percentage wise, it would make more, or whatever wise you want to put it. It would make more sense to take somebody who's going to start day one than who's going to start 2 to 4 years down the road.
I get where you're coming from. I still think it wasn't a bad pick for the insurance policy part of it.
I feel like they're not like fully invested in win now. They still feel like they need more pieces to win.
We'll see.
Which means that they don't believe in their team that much.
Could be.
Because you
see.
can't tell me that the Michael Penix pick isn't like for the future. Like they're not currently building for the future.
Yeah, but if you can do both, why not? I guess is kind of the methodology. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that.
I mean, who's done both and had success? I mean, I
don't
know
if
that's
anyone.
stupid. I know that's stupid to say because it's like off the top of your head, you can't think of it. But I'm sure there's some people out there. But for me, it's such a small. Even if that is out there, win.
I mean, they're doing it currently. Like they're drafting new guys, making moves for the future, and they're still winning.
I don't think so. I think they're drafting for guys who can play right now. I don't think they're drafting guys who are going to play in 4 years, 2 to 4 years.
Not play in 4 years, but they're still thinking about their future of like, okay, who's going to be Patrick Mahomes' next guy?
Okay, but that's right now. Like that's not what I'm saying. That like they're drafting Xavier Worthy in the first round, who's going to be a target for Patrick Mahomes right now.
Yeah, and 4 years from now.
I don't want to get into whatever you're digging into to where you can just because you draft somebody and he plays in the league for 4 years, they are also at the same time building for next year. So every draft pick is also building for the future based on that logic.
To some degree.
Unless they get hurt and they're out of the league in a year or two.
Right. To some degree. I think there's more of that than others. We'd have to go into basketball, which we don't need to. So we can move on to the next piece there.